All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're heading into a place called the Desert of Last Truths to break down this really powerful parable, the divine economy. Picture this. Up at his Tower of Inferno, a figure named Mephistopheles is watching this cosmic debate between three incredible figures. And what are they debating? Nothing less than the ultimate fate of the human soul.
So let's set the scene here. The world is just gray. It's in the aftermath of what's called a great surrender. Humanity has basically traded in any sense of challenge for comfort, and now they're all just huddled in these golden cages. It's this quiet, desolate place. But that silence is about to be shattered.
And first up, breaking that silence, it's a figure of pure, chaotic energy. Meet the Crimson Jester and his Gospel of Fire.
You know, he's not so much a character as he is a force of nature. Seriously, the story calls him a lightning bolt, just dancing on the ruins of the world. His whole philosophy is about change, dynamic, dangerous, transformative change. So what's his deal? At his core, he's a provocateur. He wants to shake things up. He's got this grinning mirror he shoves in your face to make you really look at yourself. And he preaches these inverted beatitudes, which, well, they're basically blessings for the outcasts, the rebels, anyone who has the guts to try and break out of those comfy golden cages. So yeah, his message is definitely not about safety. Not at all. He offers what he calls the joyful burden of risk. I love that phrase. It's this terrifying but also exhilarating challenge to create your own values, even if that means you're walking a tightrope over a giant abyss all by yourself.
Okay, so for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? Well, where you find fire, you're gonna find ash. And that brings us to our second figure, the complete opposite of the Crimson Jester. This is the Sapphire Jester, and he's preaching the Gospel of Ash, a very, very different path.
He's called the Redeemed Judge, but pay attention to the details here. His robes are described as pulsing with the stolen vitality of souls who've already given up their will to him. Oof, that tells you everything, doesn't it? His philosophy isn't about creating, it's about consuming. What he represents is that gravitational pull towards just being comfortable, towards security, towards giving up the fight and surrendering yourself completely. He preaches the gospel of the belly, basically just take care of your basic needs, stop struggling so much, and just dissolve into this higher plan. And his argument, man, it's so seductive, and that's what makes it dangerous. He frames freedom not as a gift, but as a burden, a heavy weight. And your own will, your individuality, he just dismisses it as a bug in the system. So what's his offer? Peace. All you have to do is surrender, become uniform ash, and be used as fuel for some greater power. Sounds tempting, doesn't it? And there it is. That's the core conflict, laid right out for us. It's a choice between two extremes: the absolutely terrifying freedom of creating yourself, or the peaceful, comfortable oblivion of giving it all up. But just when you think you have to choose between these two, a third figure appears. Someone who walks out of the wasteland and just refuses to play their game. This is Wotan the Overman.
Woden is different. He's not dancing around like a bolt of lightning, and he's not whispering sweet nothings about surrender. He just stands there. The parable says he has a geological weight, like a mountain. He is completely unmoved by the fire on one side and that siren song of the void on the other.
And then he says something that just flips the whole script. He looks at both jesters and calls them slaves to gravity. What does he mean? He's saying they're both just reactive. They only exist in relation to what they're fighting against. The Crimson Jester is anti-comfort. The Sapphire Jester is anti-freedom. But according to Wotan, neither one of them is actually creating anything new.
See, Wotan doesn't just argue, he acts. His response is to point to the emerald spire he's built, right there in the middle of the wasteland. That spire is his argument. It's his philosophy made real. It's proof that you can take in the chaos, you can withstand the void, but you don't have to be defined by either of them.
So for him, the jesters aren't enemies, they're just tools, necessary tools. The Crimson Jester is the necessary fire, the one who burns down the old stuff to clear the stage. The Sapphire Jester, he's the physics of oblivion, the force that tests the strength of anything new you try to build. But Wotan is the action that comes after their reaction. He's the one who takes their energy and actually builds something that lasts. Okay, so this whole dance between them, it's not random. It's actually a complete system. And remember our observer, Mephistopheles? He's watching all of this from his tower, and he's the one who sees the big picture, the grand design at play. And what he realizes is that this conflict, this constant struggle, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It is the system. He calls it the divine economy. And in this economy, destruction and creation aren't enemies. Chaos and order aren't opposites. They're just two sides of the same sovereign coin, working together in a cycle that prevents everything from getting stale and stagnant. So, to really help us wrap our heads around this whole divine economy thing, the parable gives us this absolutely brilliant analogy. Think of it all like a cosmic forge. So how does it work? Well, first you have the Crimson Jester. He's the raging heat of the forge, melting down all the old useless scrap metal, the old ideas. Then you have the Sapphire Jester. He's like a corrosive acid that eats away any impurity, any bug in the metal. And finally, you have Wotan. He's the master blacksmith. He takes that purified molten metal and hammers it into something new, something strong, a sovereign sword. And here's the kicker. You need all three. It's absolutely essential. Get rid of the heat and the acid, and all you've got is a pile of useless rust. Get rid of the smith, and you just have a melted puddle of slag on the floor. The whole process of creation completely falls apart if you take away any one piece. And this isn't a one-and-done deal. The system isn't static. The Sapphire Jester literally promises he'll be back to test every brick of Wotan's spire over and over again forever. And why is that important? Because that constant threat, that constant test, is what keeps the spire from becoming just another one of those golden cages. It forces Wotan and his creation to stay strong, to stay worthy, to always be vigilant. So that leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? If this cosmic forge is a metaphor for life, for our own personal growth, which part are you playing? In your own life, right now, are you the heat, melting down old habits and beliefs? Are you the acid, testing your own foundations for weaknesses? Or are you the smith, actively forging something new and strong from what's left? Something to think about.